What's up, everybody? This is the IGN UK podcast. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Luke Caramali.
Hello.
And Tilly Tots.
Hello, pod people.
I haven't done a podcast with you two for ages.
No.
Have you done one recently? You haven't done one for ages.
I haven't done one for about 8
Well,
weeks.
that's because you haven't been in the office for
That's true.
God
I've been on
knows how
holiday.
long.
Yeah.
And you're going on a holiday like next week as well.
Yeah, I am actually.
How the other half of? Where have you been?
Knee deep in work.
Oh,
I've just been doing
that's
stuff.
disappointing, isn't it?
Not really. It's been good work.
Yeah. Well,
Seeing films.
quite a lot has happened in the last week or so in the entertainment sphere.
Yeah, it's been a nutty week. Lots of film announcements.
Anything? What was your highlight?
Highlight of the week. You know what? It was none of the big things. It was doing an interview with the two guys from 2001. That
was a highlight.
I'd never seen. It was really special.
That's right. You've never seen the film.
I'd never seen 2001, so I watched that for the first time last week.
Yeah,
and had my mind blown. I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah,
but that's because I tried to watch it when I was a kid and found it boring.
Yeah,
yep.
And then I got to meet the two actors, and although one of them was a bit grumpy and they were really old, it just felt like a little piece of film history.
Yeah,
going down and talking to these guys about working with Stanley Kubrick. It was just a really lovely thing to do.
Yeah, and I guess kind of seeing it in the cinema as well, because I've never seen it in the cinema. I've got it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I don't rate it as much as a lot of people rate it. Like Stuart used to say, it's the best thing that's ever been made on film.
Stu Reed, that is.
Stu Reed, yes.
Who actually went to watch it, I saw at the weekend.
Yeah.
At the BFI.
But it is, like its influence is incredible.
Yeah, especially seeing it so soon after Interstellar.
Yeah,
there were scenes that were really reminiscent.
Really? Because I've still not seen Interstellar.
No, there were little moments, but yeah, and it's re-released in cinemas this week by the BFI. So if people want to go and check it out on the big screen, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex? What's your highlight of the week been?
Well, similar to you. It's not necessarily the highlight, but the build up to the Star Wars trailer was pretty insane.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I stand alone, but I thought it was okay.
I quite liked it.
Like my brother and I grew up on Star Wars. We always competed, like who would have the best Star Wars toys, and so he emailed me like minutes after saying it's the greatest thing he's ever seen, and I was like, well, if it wasn't Star Wars, you probably wouldn't give it a second look.
Yeah.
And of course it is Star Wars, but there's nothing I found that amazing about the trailer. Yeah, the shot with the Millennium Falcon is cool, but it's just like, let's see the film.
Yeah.
Because also, and I've spoken a lot about on this podcast, I've not been particularly convinced about J.J. Abrams in the Star Trek movies. Like, I don't particularly rate either of those that much.
I'm relieved that it's Andy Serkis's voice, not Benedict Cumberbatch's.
Why?
I did not really rate Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan.
Yeah, but I don't think that's his fault.
I know, but I would rather not have him.
He's got
as
a nice
villain.
voice.
I kind of think he's a bit overexposed at the moment. He's been in a lot of stuff.
But what does?
Well, I thought they
play?
might have used his voice though, because obviously that's what they did with Darth Vader.
Yeah.
No, we still don't know who Serkis is playing. He said it's his voice, but he won't. Right. He hasn't said who he's playing. I guess you kind of think he'll play a CG character, but who knows? What did you think of it, Luke?
I really enjoyed it. I liked that they didn't use Mark Hamill or any of that. They focused on the new talent, so Oscar Isaacs and Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. Thought that was great. I liked it. As you say, if it wasn't Star Wars, you wouldn't give it a second look. But the mere fact they can get away with that is because it's Star Wars. It's like, here are the X-Wings, here are the TIE fighters.
Of course,
right?
But that's that felt a bit lazy to me.
I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but someone made the point. Interesting, there was no space in it. It's all on planets. Just it's something
apart from the logo.
Yeah, just something that I hadn't really picked up on. But someone said to me, I think maybe my family last night, that like, yeah, no space, just all planet-based.
Yeah, I was a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. I mean, all I've done is the Rewind Theatre where we talked about pick bits out, but I didn't really talk about my opinion of it. And I just, as teasers go, I didn't think it was a really good teaser.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit all over the place, and I think you can really cleverly build atmosphere in a teaser and just hint at things, and it just didn't do a lot for me. It was it's nothing to dislike about it, and it was so exciting to have it.
Of course.
It makes it feel more real.
Event,
but then again, it would never, ever, ever live up to expectations, surely.
I don't know. I feel like you can give a teaser a little bit of a story, like a beginning, a middle, and an end, with ending on something. I guess it did end on the Millennium Falcon, but almost show less, but give people more.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, obviously, it would have been that much more exciting to see the characters that we know and love. But they've saved that for another time.
Because that's the thing. Like you'll see like Harrison Ford and go, "Oh my god,
what happened to you?"
Nah, Ford looks fine.
Does
fine.
he?
Yeah, he looks fine. And Mark Hamill, he obviously is looking a bit like Ben Kenobi now. That's the look they've gone for with the beard and that. So we kind of know, and we don't really know what Carrie Fisher's going to look like. But I think the two guys are going to look
probably not as good as she did in that gold bikini, right?
It would be cruel if they put her in that bikini.
Just to be honest.
I've seen websites that have done worse.
I wasn't sold on the lightsaber either. I thought at first I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but it's such an iconic thing, you don't need to mess with that.
No, I quite liked it. Not so much for the little crossbars or whatever they're called, but the fact that it looked a little bit unruly and not kind of...
So the theory that I've heard batted about is that, you know, it's the fall of the Empire, no one knows where the crystals are and all of this, and so they happen to make do with synthetic crystals that are weaker, and therefore the beam's more erratic.
So like meth or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's
Breaking Bad.
It's not the pure stuff.
Yeah.
I will say it was very stressful for us. I didn't like the messy way in which it was released.
Yeah.
It was a bit
all
of a cluster.
over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they were trying to achieve. I'd be pretty peeved if I was someone who bought a ticket to one of the cinemas in America.
Agree.
Yeah.
And then I could have watched it 8 times at home and in a row rather than, queue up or whatever.
I mean, we were chasing our tails, weren't we?
Yeah, we 1 minute it's on iTunes and then it's on some YouTube channels of some other websites, and then we get sent an official Star Wars link, and then we get sent the download, all in the space of like half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was a bit frustrating, really, when you're trying to cover something like that.
Yeah.
We were stressing out.
That is first world problems, though, isn't it?
I know.
Poor us, having to cover Star Wars.
But it seems strange in this day and age, though, that it didn't seem like it was as coordinated as it could have been.
For something of that kind of scale.
Yeah.
But we always said that. We said, the fact that they were going to debut in cinemas is that...
Seems old-fashioned now.
And that somebody somewhere is going to have a dodgy copy of it, and why would you screw it up like that?
It was just a mistake.
But it's just since the Jurassic Park one seemed to go so smoothly, you know, we got a bit of a heads up and we knew when it was dropping. We had all the prep in place and everyone could kind of see it at the same time in the same way in good quality. Whereas this one, it was a bit, I don't know.
Yeah, because also it came a bit earlier than we thought it was going to come, didn't it? It's like I think we were like expecting it 3:15 and we got it, I don't know, 4 minutes past or something.
Yeah, it was all a bit strange.
But anyway, but you also saw The Hobbit.
I did.
So
I've seen the final Hobbit movie.
I'm so jealous.
50 hours worth of cinema or whatever ridiculous comes to an end. A fitting end?
A fitting end, a nice end.
Or a
maybe my
shoehorned in
least favourite of the Tolkien adaptations, which isn't hugely critical because I've liked all of them. But I feel like I've loved the original 3 and I've liked this 3, and this one doesn't change that in any way, shape or form. Like it's... I don't know. There's some lovely moments at the end. It's the shortest of the 6 films, which is interesting.
How long is it?
It's long.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours.
I'm spitting a lot this podcast. Sorry, Chris.
That's all right. But I felt it was a bit unbalanced. I feel like for me, by far the best scene was the opening scene, which is really the end of the last film.
Yeah.
You know, it ended on that cliffhanger. Yeah. So that scene goes on for like another 20 minutes, and it's brilliant. But you're like, this should be at the end of a movie, not at the start of the movie.
Why didn't you finish the last film like that?
Yeah.
Completely.
And because it's lost the momentum, maybe it doesn't have the impact it should. And then I don't think the film ever really recovers. So you then got like 40 minutes of bits of business and tying up loose ends, and then you've got a battle that goes on for what feels like forever. Yeah. And I just feel like I've seen these battles in this universe before. You know, I feel like the Two Towers and Return of the King, we got these sequences.
And that's the thing I was looking forward to The Hobbit when it was originally announced, is a change of pace, something that was completely different from the kind of epic multi kind of army battles from then. It was all about, Bilbo and the dwarves and the dragon. Yeah. And it became this other monstrosity, and it was just and that's why I love The Hobbit as a book, is
you've got dwarves and elves.
Self-contained.
Yeah, you've got dwarves and elves fighting orcs again and fighting trolls, and it's still spectacular. Yeah. But it really felt like there was padding and filler and.
But so that's my because I love the original trilogy. And then I loved the first one. I can't remember what was the first Hobbit called. There and Back Again, was it?
Unexpected Journey.
Unexpected Journey. Love that. Smaug, I was kind of like, oh, this is not quite what I wanted it to be. Because the whole dragon thing was just like stretched out and pulled out, and it went on. And as you say, it ended on a bit of a disappointing climax. And it should have just finished there for me. And now this one, I've invested so much time and kind of energy into this franchise that I kind of feel a bit half-assed to go and see the film, which is not a good place to be. And of course I will go and see it.
They've kind of shoehorned in links to the next trilogy as well, which are slightly. There's a couple that are slightly painful. Some of them seem like they work and seem quite natural and organic, but others feel like, this is just so that you can say, look, it's 6 films.
You can watch it back to back.
Yeah. But I was planning to watch 1 and 2, Hobbit 1 and 2, before I went to see this to review it.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
No.
I watched them both twice before.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just done with them. I'm really done with them. In 5 years' time, 10 years' time, I'll go back to the other trilogy, but probably not these ones. All I did was watch the last 20 minutes of the last one, so that I knew exactly where we were with all the characters, so I could kind of...
Because I watched the other two, I think maybe a month ago, just because I couldn't really remember them. That's the thing. I can still remember scenes from the Lord of the Rings and stuff, and I'll still happily plug that in. But like The Hobbit, nothing's really iconic other than the dwarves singing in the first one.
And it's not and I will say, it's just not the Return of the King, where that was a really celebratory finale. It was absolutely brilliant, and
it was amazing.
It's not quite that. I
remember going to an early morning screening for that. When did that come out? Was that IGN then?
2003.
Yeah, no, pre-IGN.
And I was really hungover. And I think I was almost in tears. It's just like, oh my God. But incredible.
I'll just say my experience of that one was I went to see it during the day, quite a long time after it come out, so the cinema was pretty much empty. I might have told this before, but maybe there was like 7 or 8 people in the cinema, and I went and sat right in the middle. Right. No one around me in the rows behind or in front. And then a woman came and sat 3 seats from me with a baby and a toddler, and she breastfed for the first half hour, and all I could hear was this.
Oh my
wasn't God. You, was it?
No. And then the toddler was just...
What's that film?
The toddler
Me,
was
Myself
just...
and Irene.
It wasn't me. And the toddler was just on the floor, like playing on the floor with its toys,
man.
And talking to her. And it was the most insane thing.
That would have done my night.
Yeah, and because I'm so British, rather than complain, I just went and sat somewhere else.
You gotta love the Brits. Anyway, let's crack on with this week's news.
Okay, so poor Ubisoft, not having a great time at the moment with everything that's going on. So fresh from the fact that there was criticism about their new review policy for Assassin's Creed Unity. They had an embargo and the crew embargo 12 hours after the game released. So something else has hit them. Every year in November, we tend to see an Assassin's Creed now. We've just had Unity and Rogue released. The next one's leaked.
So normally, Ubisoft games leak in March or April. Right. They've excelled themselves this time.
They've decided let's give it a week after the game is released. So yes, this is called Assassin's Creed Victory.
Yep.
It is next gen only, so it is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Not really. And it is set in 19th century Victorian England.
No way!
I know.
Didn't see that coming.
Right? Exciting. So there we go. And so Kotaku found this out. And then Ubisoft has pretty much said, yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
It's legit.
There was some resignation in that statement that they released, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I just, honestly, how the hell does this happen every single year with every single game in Ubisoft?
The statement is just like, it's always unfortunate when internal assets not intended for public consumption are leaked. We certainly welcome anticipation for all of our upcoming titles, but we're disappointed for fans, development teams, and that this conceptual asset's now public. It's like...
So, because that's the thing, it's not just, there is a Victorian and England version of... There's a screenshot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, that is a big
How do you
leak.
feel about this? Obviously, we cover this stuff. It's our bread and butter, and it does huge traffic when people get a first glimpse at a game. But it's so harsh on the studio that's trying to get everything right before they, and release it at the time that they see fit.
But it's kind of part of what you risk, I think, with an annualized franchise as well, right? Because that's the thing. You get franchise fatigue much quicker, and it leaks a lot. Because they've apparently been working on this for about 3 years, Ubisoft Quebec. But it's now at the stage where...
But that's the same as any studio, right?
Yeah. But I think it would be... It's really interesting, because in actual fact, this leaked last night, and I checked last night, it didn't really do that well last night. People were just like, and I really think you're getting hit by franchise fatigue now.
To answer your question, I think... So a cynical side of me thinks... Did it actually leak, or was because the reception to Unity has been so poor? It's like, got to get faith back in the interest. Completely new location, although they did that with like Revolutionary France, and I wondered if that was part of it. But I agree. Is like, in all honesty, I think they need to take a year off, but they probably can't afford to. It makes whatever people say about it, it still makes them a ton of cash.
Yeah.
Same with Call of Duty.
Like Unity outsold Black Flag in the UK.
Yeah.
And Black Flag, as far as I'm concerned, is possibly one of the highlights.
But at the same time is, people didn't realise the extent
to which
of
was broken.
The bugs.
Yeah.
Which, admittedly can be fixed with patches. So, because I wondered, obviously it's called Victory, I wondered if you will get on Lord Nelson's Victory.
You would think, you would imagine.
Considering it's been such a big part of previous Assassin's Creed. Although it's my least favourite part of the game. I like the fact that it's coming to London, Victorian London, but at the same time, I just
Have you got a sense of pride?
I do.
It's quite cool when franchises come to your
but because
hometown.
we're climbing up like St Paul's, for example.
Well, there's one screenshot with like Big Ben in the background,
Yeah.
and I did feel a bit like, that's cool. But we've also got The Order 1886 next year, which is Victorian England as well. And so I kind of feel like I've got my Victorian England fix.
I want to find the IGN offices.
Yeah.
Because I think they were probably around then. Probably not.
But yeah, so there you go. The only other thing that he says is that apparently there won't be an equivalent of Rogue. So like there won't be a...
You got to leave it behind at some point, right?
Yes.
And I think 2 years is probably fair enough.
We have a Suicide Squad cast. So this is the supervillain movie that Warner Brothers is making. David Ayer's directing, who directed Training Day and End of Watch, and Fury was his movie this year. So he does testosterone. He does guy movies. Right. And he's making a movie with a lot of guys and some ladies in it as well. So we have Will Smith is playing Deadshot, who's pretty much the leader of the Suicide Squad. Tom Hardy is Rick Flag.
Will Smith?
I don't...
But anyway, I'll let you go
get
through
to
it.
the end.
All right, okay.
Tom Hardy is Rick Flag. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. Jai Courtney as Boomerang. Cara Delevingne as Enchantress. And Jared Leto as the Joker. We have a new Joker.
Yeah. So I think Jared Leto could do an awesome job of that.
I do.
Because I think he'll take it in a different direction.
We've talked about him on the superhero show before, and my feeling about him is there's something kind of otherworldly about him.
Yeah.
He takes life very seriously, I think.
He's quite gaunt as well.
He'll take this seriously, and I think he'll be a very interesting... He'll do something different. I don't think he would take it if he didn't think he could do something 180 degrees from what's gone before.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the other cast members. My only concern with it would be is that I don't know how they're pitching this movie.
Yeah.
Because, with someone like the Joker, you want it to be quite extreme.
Yeah.
And obviously, Dark Knight, I think it pushed the boundaries of the rating that it got. And if he can take it to that same level, then great. I just hope they don't try and make, kind of dumb it down and make it like a pleasant movie. Because Joker should be absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And it's called The Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I hope it's not Expendables.
I wonder if he'll be I wonder if he'll be as nasty as Heath Ledger's Joker, though.
Yeah.
Whereas this is going to be... feels like it's going to be more of an action movie than like... Dark Knight was kind of like a psychological horror almost, wasn't it?
You can see him being quite straight-laced with it, I think, almost. Like, kind of playing against the fact that he's meant to be a Joker, but he's like quite, quite straight with it.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect. So
you're not feeling Will Smith in another superhero movie?
I'm just not feeling Will Smith.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he's just a bit of a comedian. Like, I don't think I could take him seriously.
He can act, though. Ali, he's really good in Ali. He's done some very good dramatic roles.
What was the one?
He's good, but
what was the film where he was a kind of bloke on the street?
The Pursuit of Happiness.
That was supposed to be a great film. Charlotte bawled a lot of it.
Yeah. I don't know. He needs a hit, though, Will Smith does.
After Earth and stuff. Like.
Yeah. Trying to shoehorn his son into everything.
So I find it weird that Tom Hardy is coming back in a DC role, but not as Bane.
Yeah. Coming back, he is. And it's at Warner Brothers as well, who's also done Mad Max for, so he's obviously tight with them now.
Yeah. And obviously it's great, he's flavour of the month, and I think he's decent in pretty much everything he does.
Yeah, and this will be very different to Bane. Bane, you didn't even see his face, really, did you?
No,
you couldn't hear what he was saying, so...
Exactly. Pretty much none of him was used.
What a lovely voice.
I think Jim said on one of the videos we shot in the States that if you kind of want a cigar-chomping tough guy, like Tom Hardy could be the new Lee Marvin.
Yeah.
He could do that kind of thing. And I think we're thinking Dirty Dozen quite a lot with this as well. I think this is like a superhero Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie... I think we all thought she was good in Wolf of Wall Street, but none of us have seen her in much else, really. She's got a lot coming up, but like...
Harley Quinn's a big role as well,
Yeah, but nobody's really kind of done it before. Like, it's
True.
obviously a big feature in all of the games, in the animated series, and then kind of penned into the comics.
I think they've kind of gone for the sexy angle. It sounds like she's quite.
Yeah, but she is sexy.
Yeah, she's also mental.
But she's also mental. Yeah, she's Joker's girlfriend. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see how that kind of relationship pans out, and I think the pair of them could do a really good job of it.
Yeah. And whether or not any of these characters will pop up anywhere else as well in other.
Yeah.
And then the ones I'm really not sure about. So Jai Courtney as Boomerang.
What's he done before?
I am not a fan of this guy. So he was Bruce Willis's son, John McClane's son in the last Die Hard.
Right.
Okay.
And he's a bit of a Sam Worthington to me, where he's kind of a tough, reasonably tough guy, just doesn't have that much charisma. Yeah, I don't really get what he is. Kind of a himbo.
Yeah.
Like a Mel Bim. I don't know. Mate, he's in the new Terminator, so that'll be a big test for him.
Yeah.
Although, as usual, did you see all the pictures of them shouting on the front of that magazine?
Yes.
He's one of them.
Terrible marketing shots.
So
really.
we'll know a bit more of him by the time this podcast drops, because the trailer for Terminator is coming out as well this week.
Yeah.
And then Cara Delevingne, who...
Bold.
Obviously, supermodel, very famous in the tabloids in England.
Is she the lady with the eyebrows?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's apparently very good in Michael Winterbottom's film that's coming out next year. She's also in Pan. She seems to be getting a lot of roles, but when it's a supermodel turned actor, you're never really sure, aren't you?
No.
Yeah, she was kind of flavour of the month, wasn't she? So.
And the other thing that I saw this morning is that they're rumouring that as Oprah as Waller, the kind of the mastermind of it all.
Yeah, it's
Fury character.
Kind of how bizarre.
It's Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, and Oprah Winfrey, with her apparently the favourite. But you know what? That woman is a really good actress.
Colour
She's
Purple,
really good.
like,
yeah.
She
was acting before she did talk shows.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like it seems laughable because of who she is, but actually, whenever she's acted in it, she's in The Butler as well, which got nominated for a couple of years ago. It's not as funny as people think, I don't think. It's just because she's Oprah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like having Graham Norton on there or something like that.
Well, it's like John Barrowman when he turns up in Zero Dark 30 and you're just like...
Well, he's all the way through...
He's quite good in Arrow.
He is good in Arrow.
He is quite good in Arrow. But this is all very interesting. So it means in 2016 we're going to have 2 supervillain movies. We've got Sinister Six and this coming out. So this is this has got some serious heavyweights though in terms of like cast. Like that first trailer is going to be pretty good, I think, when we see some of these guys.
Yeah. So I've got a question.
Oh no.
Okay.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Poor.
What? That's good.
I didn't like that song.
Well, it's pretty much the Frozen soundtrack has been in my head for the last year.
That's why I actually wanted you to do this
exactly,
story.
Yes.
I remember when we went to a Disney Infinity event and we walked in and Let It Go was playing and your face just fell.
Do you know what?
It's because Alex loves Disney.
I do love Disney.
And
I do love dressing up as Elsa. So I'm especially happy that the actress that played her, Idina Menzel, is that how you pronounce it?
Let's ask John Travolta.
It's Idina Menzel.
I knew Luke would like that. So famously at the Oscars last year, John Travolta tried to say her name. What did he say?
The wickedly talented Adele Dazeem. Just like,
really?
She was it's like because she was in Wicked, so she was Elphaba. She started the main role in Wicked, so she was like, and now the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem, and like just kind of like swallows it a little bit.
Is it Idina Menzel?
Yeah, her name is Idina Menzel.
How did he get that name so
That
wrong?
is the question that we've asked.
Okay.
I'll send you a link.
He kind of says he's a big fan as well, just before he says it. And he clearly has never
I'm
heard
a huge
of her.
fan of her work. Like she's really talented.
It's very funny, and it made Luke hysterical when it happened.
Yeah, and we did a podcast, me and Stu, and I lost it.
Right. So I know. So I remember the podcast. I never actually saw it, so I didn't know what it was related to.
Yeah, no, that's what it's related
to. Right. Anyway, so
So-
she has come out in interview with The Telegraph, in fact, saying that a sequel and the stage musical are going ahead. So it's no surprise, you know.
Yeah, we
that
definitely
movie
knew
has
the
gone.
stage musical was happening,
Yeah.
and the sequel it
The
just
whole
seemed
film
like
is
a
set up as a
no-brainer.
musical. It's got Broadway written all over it more than any
I
other
think there's
Disney
Frozen
film.
on Ice, isn't there already? And there's
There's
loads.
Once Upon a Time and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what Once Upon a Time is.
Do I? I've just
I see the reviews going up on IGN, but I've never seen it. I don't know where
It's a
you would
character.
watch it.
It's a drama set in the fairy tale universe.
Right. But does it air over here?
I don't know. Is it one about crimes in that play in the fairy tale universe? I think there might be crimes going on.
Right.
And there's like cops, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I've never
sounds
watched
It
it.
really-
sounds like
it's-
Enchanted.
I'm kind of into
like
this.
a bit different. I don't know. Anyway, look, there's not a lot of other news apart from the fact it's going to happen. Do you know what? I don't really give two hoots, but my daughter will go nuts for it.
I still haven't seen the first one.
Yeah, they've just got to... Let's hope they don't mess it up, really, because there's so many kids that love that movie.
Because I think...
You don't want an inferior sequel to
that. No, and let's face it, there are very few Disney films that have had sequels that, well, haven't been straight to DVD, quite frankly. I didn't realise there was 3 Lion Kings. But there are.
Direct to DVD though. That's where it all goes wrong.
I guess you got Lasseter in charge these days, who oversaw the Toy Story sequels, and it needs to go down that route. Where it's.
But the thing that's good about Frozen is that whether you like it or not, is I think the story is pretty interesting. It's really well paced, but the soundtrack. So it's a mixture of all 3 things. And I think you need to invest heavily in the sound. Like Muppets is a good example. The first movie was so good. The second one, the soundtrack was nowhere near as good. I thought the casting was not very good. Ricky Gervais, and they'd set up the Muppets for a brilliant return, and then they screwed up with the sequel.
Yeah. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen.
Me too.
But we don't really care that much.
Well, you say that, it'll be my life as a nightmare.
I quite like Idina Menzel, so...
What about whatever Tazim? Do you like her?
Adele Tazim. She's got her on Twitter again, actually.
Interesting though, it made her super famous, Idina Menzel, because it became such a big news story that everyone was talking about her.
She's now got a song out with Michael Bublé as well. So, just for the boob, from being a Broadway star to that.
Interestingly, top 10 films in the UK this week, number 7, Frozen.
Really? Still?
So it's been re-released.
Okay.
I knew that, but I didn't realise it'd actually been re-released, because I hadn't seen any marketing for it anyway.
Guess you don't have to market it.
Got re-released last week. It's made nearly 500,000 so far. Wow. And I guess it'll stay in cinemas. The Polar Express has been re-released again.
That's not a very good film.
But you know what? Over the years, that has made a hell of a lot of money by being re-released every year, and it's going to be the same with Frozen.
So the one that I haven't seen is Jim Carrey was in. What did he do?
Christmas Carol remake. Right?
Yeah, is that good?
I quite liked it.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's just that there's better Christmas carols out there.
Yeah,
right.
There's Muppets. the Alistair Sim one. The Muppet one
Muppets
is
Muppets
right
up there.
Yeah.
The thing is, Arthur Christmas, I think, is really good.
Oh yeah, no, I like that.
To watch that one. Yeah.
You not watched it?
No. Good.
Like Scarlet. Well, again, it's the film that I watched with Scarlet at Christmas last year, and we probably started watching it at December, all the way through up until probably June, and then it was time to watch something else. That would be her kind of pop on the DVD player.
Yeah, I've got the DVD, so
yeah,
it is really good.
Well, I'll tell you what you should take Scott to see is Paddington.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. We spoke about it on last week's podcast. The experience.
Well, the film did come out, and I don't think that many children had to leave because it made over 5 million.
Wow.
It's the second biggest debut for a family film this year, behind Lego, and it has delivered the biggest opening weekend for a live-action family film since Alice in Wonderland in March 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that film's a stinker.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But it was a phenomenon here. It made $1 billion worldwide, Alice in Wonderland.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought
it bombed huge. It was absolutely huge. So yeah, it's interesting. Apparently, I didn't know the background to it, but Warner's had spent years developing a Paddington movie and then decided not to press ahead with it. And so Studio Canal bought the rights off them, and it's the most expensive film that Studio Canal have produced.
Wow.
And it's their biggest opening.
You can kind of see that though, like the amount. So I've seen the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could tell, even during that time, it way surpassed my expectation.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, because I've seen the whole thing.
Yes, and, that's good because you reviewed it.
A lot of care and attention have gone into it. It looks beautiful. It's lovely. It's well written. It's the producer of Harry Potter, and you can feel that kind of care and attention has got into it.
There's a sense of magic to it, which is always nice. Yeah.
Yep. And so I expect, just like Frozen, that we'll see a sequel coming sooner rather than later.
Should Colin Firth have stayed in it?
No. I mean, they all agreed. He agreed. They agreed. It would have been weird. This little boy having an old man's voice.
Yeah. Sleep well, sweet prince. Yeah. Barely knew thee.
Yeah.
So good news.
Big cash for Paddington.
Good.
So this year it's the 20th anniversary of PlayStation, which is kind of pretty crazy. So how old were you when PlayStation came out?
I would have been 5.
Oh my god!
I was 5 when the PlayStation came out.
I was working in the games industry.
I was 16.
There you go.
Were you?
So it puts us in 3 different places.
Yeah, 3 different generations.
How old are you?
36.
Okay, so there's 5 years difference. Right, okay. So I was 21 when PlayStation came out. Yeah. Obviously, the whole thing of it is like PlayStation are celebrating it. They've released, or they're going to release, a special edition,
which I want
PlayStation 4. So if you haven't seen it, it's a PlayStation 4. It's in the original PlayStation grey, which I don't think looks very sexy anymore.
The top is kind of shiny though, like the bit at the top, it's so like that bit's kind of shiny. It looks quite nice. They've also released a theme today as well for it.
Right.
So
I haven't seen that yet.
So the theme is quite boring, but we'll come to that.
But you get the PlayStation logo, the coloured PS logo is on the front. There's a little thing down the bottom saying that this costs you lots of money. It'll be worth more in a few years' time.
Yes, there's 12,300 made because it was originally released.
So weird.
Apparently, because there was originally it was released on the 3rd of the 12th.
Yeah.
So 12,300
right
is the thing, but that's worldwide. They haven't announced how you can get it yet.
Yeah.
That's coming on Saturday at the PlayStation Experience. They're going to be like,
oh, of course, yeah.
They're going to announce how you can get hold of it.
So, and then the other thing, like the controller itself, where the touchpad is, you've got the little kind of X, triangle, square, circle thing as the pattern on the top, which is, again, a nice touch.
Cool.
But I don't particularly like it.
I really like it. But
Have you seen it, Chris?
No.
I'm imagining it's one of those things where, because I saw a shot of it alongside the original PlayStation, I was like, I prefer the original PlayStation. Because that is a design of its time and a colour of its time, whereas this, you've got a modern design, but with a horrible colour. It'd be like having an Xbox One in the same colour as an Amiga, so that kind of off-white, kind of cream colour.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
No.
I think it's just kind of, for nostalgia's sake. But the theme...
Do you remember when PCs were all beige?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird, isn't
it?
it?
Packard Bell. But there was a theme. It's just a grey background, and so that's not exciting. But the big thing is, it's the chime, that startup chime. It has that when you boot up the console, so it's the... I can't do it, but it's the chime, the PlayStation startup chime.
I can't remember how it went, because...
Brom kind of thing.
Sega. Because I do remember, like, when PS2 came out, I went over to Namco Bandai's offices, or it was just Namco at the time, because they were working on whichever Ridge Racer game. And they got one of the first PS2s in the office. And we went over to see it, and all it did was switch on and play the kind of noise. And
is that the PS3?
Oh, I can't remember.
And then the PS2 is just like, woo, and there's loads of dust.
Anyway, all we did was sit there, turn it on and off for about 15 minutes and go, right, it's our first experience. Like, the blue light was nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Weird.
Awesome.
I know. Well, that was my job. It still is. So anyway, obviously, big thing at the minute is talking about your favourite moments and memories from PlayStation. Now, I've got a lot, so I can go first.
Okay.
And you can talk about yours. Let me talk about mine. Now, first things first. You might remember this. You probably won't.
Okay.
But when it first came out, their advertising campaign was called SAPS, Society Against PlayStation.
I do remember. Yeah.
And it was kind of like a kind of public health warning about, how playing games was too addictive and PlayStation, you shouldn't play it. And I've got the YouTube, and I'm going to play it, a segment of it briefly, and I'll try and hold it near to the mic so you can hear some of it.
Hello, citizens of Europe. As spokesperson for SAPS, the Society Against PlayStation, I'd like to talk to you about a menace threatening humanity. It's happening right here, in our very homes, and corrupting the lives of our loved ones. Yes, friends, I'm talking about this. It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut. How do you know PlayStation is not a normal game system? It carries these telltale signs. Scientists say its effects are mind-boggling. Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Here we have a norm.
Anyway, so that's the kind of advert. So interesting. Sorry, one thing that I saw on that advert: $299 for the console.
Yeah,
which is, pretty much standard for consoles these days. Obviously, Xbox was more expensive, but 45 quid for a game. So game prices haven't really changed that much, considering that was 20 years ago. Like, if you take into account inflation, that's insane.
I feel like, though, they soon came down to £30.
But that's, yeah. It's the same, like, when Blu-rays first came out, they were like mega expensive, and now it's the same in any HMV sale. But so that was one of the kind of first things that I remembered. Like, compared to like Nintendo and Sega, who were very straight and playing, used to playing the kind of gamers game. This was like a new company doing something completely different, and it was like lifestyle and edgy, and that kind of echoed across the games, because obviously Wipeout was one of their big things.
God, so much coming back.
And then, because I can't remember, Orbital and all the kind of people that did the soundtrack for it. Designers Republic did all the design. It was just like, this is cool shit.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then also Black CDs. I remember losing my shit at Black CDs. Do you not like Black CDs?
Yeah. No.
I like Black CDs. I miss Black CDs.
Yeah, I'm getting that. I'm getting that vibe.
I didn't believe you when you first said it, but now it's starting to.
But some of the other things, so like from the inside of the industry, because that's where I was. So Phil Harrison was heading up PlayStation in the UK at the time. He's now obviously doing Xbox. But I went in to interview him, and he was talking about obviously Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonic, and it was before Sony had a mascot, and he was talking about this brand new game coming up from Naughty Dog, and it was going to blow our minds. And it was Crash Bandicoot. And I know people love Crash Bandicoot.
That's top of my list.
Whisper his name in the same sentence as Mario, I think, is doing Mario a huge disservice.
Okay, fair point.
I think he's more a competitor to Sonic than he is to Mario.
Yeah, a poor man's Mario, the pair of them. So probably going to be quite a few people listening to this podcast who don't agree with me.
Neither Luke nor I said that.
Yeah, exactly. I defend Crash.
And then the other thing he did, so it was just around the same time, I don't know, PlayStation been out 6 months, is he showed me the prototype of the PlayStation. And it basically looked like an inkjet printer. It was this huge thing. Like, you imagine it to be kind of what it would look like, but it wasn't. It was, literally like a massive box with bits sticking out of it. And that's how the PlayStation was born.
Wow. So you were there at the start. You were there at the birth.
Well, I started on issue 2 of PlayStation Plus.
Right.
Because I was working on a PC mag at the time. And then I'm never really a PC person. So I moved from that to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there for the birth of Lara Croft, quite literally.
Pleasant time.
It's a weird game.
Other cool stuff, pen trick. Does anybody remember the pen trick? If you were trying to play import games, when you turn your PlayStation and it comes up with a logo, whichever noise it is, because I can't remember, you pop open the thing, because basically that is it saying, right, you are loading a UK game, so you put UK game, load it, quickly open it, stick a pen in, so it's holding down the bit at the back that thinks the disc lid is down, and then you put your import copy in.
Wow. That's how I don't think I knew that.
Really?
Oh.
Look at this.
And then everything, having to hold it on its side because it was overheated all the time, and oh man, all these old tricks.
There you go. Who needs to get it chipped?
But then games, Metal Gear would be nothing without PlayStation, for me anyway.
Yep.
And then Pro Evo, like we used to play. I was working on CVG,
the one, didn't it?
and it was called Pro Evolution Soccer Winning 11 something or other. But because it had no licensees, there was a massive underground kind of movement where people would create all the official kits. So it was the time when Arsenal was sponsored by O2. And they'd basically gone through and created all the right characters, all the right kits, and all you had to do is download the thing onto the old PlayStation memory cards, and you had a fully official kind of Pro Evo, which at the time was better than FIFA. So they don't make them like they used to. Do you have any PlayStation memories?
I think football games, the football games, just all through those early years, certainly when I was at school, when I was at uni.
You always talk about Emlyn Hughes.
No, I'm talking about PlayStation now. Emlyn Hughes was way before that. Primary school when I was Emlyn Hughesing, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I just remember spending hours and hours at uni with my friends playing PlayStation football.
Yeah.
Playing a football game on PlayStation.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I think that was the first time that was happening, though, because obviously it was the console that kind of moved into the living room from the bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I was there, 2 years after it came out, when sort of everyone was getting it, was my first year at uni. So everyone had one in their room at uni, whereas I don't think before then people brought consoles with them to uni as much. Because also you could, watch DVDs and listen to CDs or whatever. So that's a real memory, is just having all my mates...
You couldn't watch DVDs.
That's PlayStation 2.
Yeah. But
but I remember, though, like, it was amazing that I could put a CD in there, and then I could play the CD through my telly, and it would have those weird pictures on screen. That seemed like trippy. Way in the future.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It was 20 years ago, though.
But just, that seems so sort of dated now, but
it is interesting because obviously at the time, like when like mainstream whatever would refer to video gaming, it would be like, I'm going to go and play my Nintendo, even if it wasn't Nintendo. It very quickly became PlayStation. It's like, even if they were playing Nintendo games, it's like, we're going to go and play on PlayStation. It was just like, actually, I'm just going to play a video game.
And the music was a big thing for me. I think you could sometimes play your own CD as the soundtrack of a game. You could kind of put the CD in first and put the game in after, or whatever, and that was just something really novel. I could listen to an Oasis album while I was playing a football game.
But it's true, like, they experimented so much with games like Parappa the Rapper and Rib Rib and all these kind of like far out there games, like Beat Generation games, all that kind of stuff was PlayStation was, completely different proposition from, what was around at the time. So, what about yours?
My youthful memory.
You can't actually remember anything.
No,
just
I can't.
Like
you were 5, Luke.
Suckling from your mama's teat.
Well, I had a Mega Drive. Originally, I had a Mega Drive originally.
That's for the Mega Drive Memories episode of the podcast,
which is never coming, unfortunately. But no, and I played Tekken. Tekken was the first game I played, and at my cousin's house, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And they told me, "Oh, there was a new Tekken coming out, Tekken 2," and so I decided this is, I need this. I was probably a bit older then, maybe I was about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But that was my first game, Tekken 2. I used to spend hours playing that with my dad. I also got worms.
Yeah.
Spent hours.
You got worms?
I had worms. Took me to the doctors, got me a pill, it was fine.
That's a Dumb and Dumber joke.
Yeah. So
I got worms.
So we did that. So worms and Tekken 2 were kind of my first
not a good
big
combination.
Game. I know. But like it's just amazing. So Crash, I'm going to come to the defense of Crash. I thought Crash was amazing back in the day.
Well,
it was fun.
Maybe,
it was fun to play.
But again, with somebody telling me with all seriousness that PlayStation's going to have somebody to rival Mario. It's like,
see,
they are big words.
I think for me, it come from the fact that I'd come from the Mega Drive, which was obviously 2D Sonic and all of that, and the Game Boy, which was 2D Mario, and suddenly there were these 3D worlds, and it was a 3D.
Blew your tiny mind.
It literally did, because I was still coping with the real 3D world. At that
still
day, and I still am. I'm still not quite there.
So this all happened when you were 5?
No,
this is amazing.
This is all this is PS.
A gaming
PS1.
prodigy.
Yeah, and then Spyro. I loved Spyro as well.
God, you had some terrible taste in games.
I still love it when I interviewed Ted Price.
There's me talking about Metal Gear, like classics of our time.
These are the ones. Ted Price, when I interviewed Ted Price for Insomniac the other day about Sunset Overdrive, at the end I was just like, look, please stop what you're doing. You're wasting your life. Get back and make another Spyro. He said, think about it. And then
it's like, get this loser out of here.
But I do remember also buying my first memory card and being bewitched that I could suddenly save my progress.
Yeah, but at the same time, I remember I had probably about 15 of those memory cards.
Yeah, you can never remember what's on which one.
Yeah,
that was and you had to try and write it on in like the tiny little slot at the bottom. And you're like, oh, this is ball ache. And then the only other one that I remember going to Scotland to visit some family friends, and they were playing Final Fantasy 9 at the time, and that was my first encounter with the Final Fantasy series. Yeah,
so not Final Fantasy 7?
No. So I started with 9, I went back and played 9, and I tried 7, and 7 just doesn't click with me. After playing 9, it's very, very difficult. It was very difficult for me to go back.
Did you play 9?
I finished 9.
I thought so.
Did I tell you I played 9?
So the other thing that I loved about it is it was the closest, I guess, to having an arcade machine in your room, because you had obviously Ridge Racer, Tekken, as you say, but even Time Crisis, which you had the little kind of Dayglow Gun-Con, which was amazing.
But no Duck Hunt.
No Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt. I do remember being annoyed that certain games that were kind of ported over from computer games weren't as good when they moved to PlayStation. Games that I loved, like Speedball 2 or Lemmings. There were just some games that I really loved, and they just didn't make...
It's true, because
is a good one.
Like Doom. I remember playing Doom. But also, I played Doom on 2 PlayStations hooked up. Me and my mate had it in our front room. And old little tellies, 14-inch Sony tellies, and that, and it was amazing. But it didn't feel quite the same.
Command & Conquer as well was when I did Command & Conquer Red Alert, when that port...
Resident Evil.
Jesus Christ, that was a port that was a ball ache to control.
Yeah.
A strategy game on a PlayStation.
Yeah, because I was working, as I say, on a PlayStation mag, and we worked alongside another magazine called Maximum, which was for the hardest of hardcore gamers, and they got the trial version of Resident Evil before it came out.
Oh, cool.
And it was pretty much the whole game, if I remember rightly, up to where you see the giant snake. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, this game is going to change the world.
And it did.
Well, it didn't change the world, it was just quite good. But yeah. So
I'm sure we'll have some readers with memories.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully. Do you mean PlayStation memories?
Yeah.
Or just, yeah, you should definitely let us know your PlayStation memories. IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com. And we will talk about them on next week's show.
Indeed.
We got the Superhero Show a new email address.
Did you?
Why can't we get the podcast?
We will.
We're working on it.
We're superheroshow at IGN.com.
So, yeah, we were talking about getting Duck Hunt at IGN.com.
Yeah, that would be good.
Would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's go to the feedback.
Cool. So I have the first piece from Arjun Tahim. So first of all, it's his birthday on Saturday. So
happy birthday.
There you go. He's been listening since episode 10.
Wow.
So there you go. Commitment. It's longer
Good
than
work.
most of us have been listening.
No.
Okay. So he says, is it bad that he's not excited for Star Wars or Jurassic Park? He sees both as fairly decent films, but he's just not fanatical about them.
I think it's fair. I think each to their own. It's been a long time for both franchises, so I don't know.
And the previous instalments have left bad tastes in our mouths.
Yeah, and like you guys were saying, I guess last week you were talking about Avatar and whether you still cared. I think there's more of a nostalgia thing because so much of our generation's grown up on those films. Yeah. So, I was
surprised by the comments on the Avatar. Like, I think one out of all of them was like, I'm quite excited by it, but everybody was like, I couldn't care.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting, because they were very popular on the site. We were working here when the movie came out, and it was beloved by the readers.
We spoke about Avatar on every podcast for about a year almost.
I don't know, because it was weird. I still quite like Avatar, and everyone's like all of a sudden decided it's bad.
It's not that it's bad,
it's just
but I've got no desire to go back there at all. I remember at the time, and I just said this last week, the 3D was spectacular. Like, we went to go and see that preview stuff at the IMAX. And I was like, yeah, this looks genuinely interesting, but unfortunately the film doesn't hold up. Like, I watched it in 2D when I was sick, and oh man, never again. Never again.
Not make things better.
No.
But I think it's good to keep your expectations in check a little bit. We all get carried away, don't we? And I'm trying to do that with Star Wars. I'm finding it easier with Jurassic Park, but with Star Wars, I'm really trying not to get over excited. Plus, there's a year to go, but it's like,
yeah.
Can these films ever live up to those high expectations that we create? I mean, and we're partly to blame at IGN because we help hype things, and we love talking about this stuff, but they've got a challenge on their
Should we just not talk about Star Wars for the next year?
I'm really easily pleased, so I'll just watch it and like it anyway. But I don't really have
your two favourite games of all time are Crash and Spyro.
Pretty much bewitched by bright colours, if we're honest.
So who did the printouts this week for the feedback?
Luke.
So really, Luke, remember we need to highlight the names as well.
Okay,
that's a big thing. It's a big thing. Just it's never going to be right, is it?
That is true. So actually, while you're talking about that, so somebody did read away because we read out somebody's feedback last week and we didn't mention their name.
Okay,
so that wasn't my fault because I wasn't there.
Fair enough. Right. So this is from Gaz Roberts, who says, after listening to last week's podcast, I was happy to find out I wasn't alone in not liking the Bourne films. My question is, what films do you guys not like that are well regarded in other people's eyes? I'm not the biggest fan of the Godfather trilogy, he says.
I've not seen it.
So who doesn't like Bourne? Last week,
be someone who's not here.
Rory or Gav?
I don't remember anybody saying that they didn't like Bourne.
Did someone write in and say that?
Maybe, because I love the Bourne first three films.
It's a good, solid trilogy.
I haven't seen the most recent one.
Yeah, wow, The Godfather, though. I'm putting together my top 10 movies, and I'm putting Godfather in there. I mean, the third one is a bit of a disaster, but the first two are, I think, are masterpieces. But that's the point of, the fact that we can all like different things.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of the films like in the top 20 films of all time, like the big box office hits of the last 10, 20 years. I felt a bit of a disconnect in that I've not really enjoyed them. So Alice in Wonderland, as we said.
Yeah.
Avatar I didn't really love. I came out a bit indifferent. Transformers. So
I would be surprised if any of those made critical top 10 lists there.
So one I have seen recently that isn't out till next year, but it's by Paul Thomas Anderson, who's one of my favourite filmmakers. He did Boogie Nights, Magnolia, The Master, There Will Be Blood, all of which I've loved. His new film Inherent Vice, everyone's saying a masterpiece in the States. I was really bored and I didn't really like it, and I was very disappointed.
I thought that about There Will Be Blood, to be honest.
Yeah,
I didn't kind of click with that.
Yeah, he's a tricky filmmaker, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you guys?
What was the other one? So I was looking through Chris Carl's top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah.
And he's got The Royal Tenenbaums at number 1, and I really did not like that film. So for someone to put it, top 10, fair enough. But number 1, I was like, that is some brassy balls.
I know. He was really umming and ahhing. When he was over here, we talked about it quite a lot. He didn't know whether to do it, but I like the fact he's gone for it. He's put his balls on the line.
Yeah. I admire the fact that it's a bit of an out there choice.
Yeah.
But I watched it once. I will never ever watch it again. So for me, it's about movies that stand up to repeat viewing.
Yeah.
for that. So this might be a bit controversial, but the same. Repeat viewing. The Indiana Jones films for me.
Oh, what an idiot.
No, see, I've watched them.
I've just been saying how everyone can have their own opinion.
I know, but there are some things that are sacred, right?
No, like, they're fine.
And I would say of a lot of trilogies, they are the ones that stand up to repeat viewing more than any.
I think they're fine, but I've seen them. I have no real desire to watch them again.
You've really upset Alex.
Apparently so.
Can't quite believe it.
Is your favourite one the fourth one?
No, I haven't gone that far.
You'd get a left hook there.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was a moment where I judged if it was worth it. No, I have seen
come off it. I honestly don't know how to follow that up.
I'm sorry.
Let's move on to the next piece of feedback quickly.
Okay, go on.
Right, Chaltsy writes in, says, "Hey up, pod lads. I have to comment on the chatterbollocks uttered about the JW trailer that's Jurassic World. It looks a lot like... it looks like it has a lot of CGI, but they've got time to fix it. It's not out for another 6 months." Quote. Yeah, because building huge sets and eliminating CGI is what you did in the last 6 months of making a movie. So, actually, to put it into context, is we were talking, we were saying Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or Dawn of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, or whatever that film was called. And the early trailer and teaser for that, Caesar looked pretty ropey, but in the final film, he looked fantastic. So.
Exactly. And I knew that without even listening to your conversation. I knew that's what you'd have been talking about. You'll find this with so many trailers that get released, is that the CGI isn't finished. So you guys weren't talking about them building sets and filming it that way.
Yeah.
It's just that you're seeing early versions of it, and that they will keep rendering it until it's...
And that's exactly what they do in the last 6 months of making a film. We
right?
weren't talking about going back and creating, huge sets that would replace CGI. That's not what we were talking about. No. We were talking about the water dinosaur specifically. I don't know what it's called.
I quite agree. I mean, I didn't hear your conversation, but I felt exactly the same thing when I watched that trailer. I was sitting there thinking, I hope that isn't finished. I hope that isn't complete, because that's not good enough.
Yeah, and I think it will look miles better when it comes out.
And you'll see my review, actually, The Hobbit. I did have some problem with some of the CG in The Hobbit.
Right.
Some of it looked pretty ropey to me.
Well, really? Wolverine Origins, wasn't it, that was really ropey?
Wolverine was bad, but Billy Connolly's character, although he's a dwarf, he looks to be like fully CGI'd, and it looks fake.
Right.
Anyway.
Sad times.
Next piece.
So Rob Porter opens with the strong joke. How'd you get a Pikachu on a bus?
Pokemon.
There you go.
We've told that on this podcast before.
I know. So he basically says Pokemon was discussed on the last podcast, and Rory said that he likes the fact that the franchise seems to be more story-driven now. He says, though, he isn't so sure about the fact that games are going this way. Do we like modern games with heavy narrative and overuse of cutscenes? He's worried they're going to turn into dumbed-down, overly scripted, interactive movies with button prompts.
Yeah, so I think there's two things there. Yes, I do prefer narrative-driven games. Absolutely.
The Last of Us,
but that doesn't mean that you sacrifice interaction with that if it's done correctly.
I think The Last of Us is a great marrying of the two, I think.
Yeah.
I know what he means, but I mean, again, you've got Heavy Rain. What was the latest one? Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah, never played it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was pretty poor, but that was because the game and
but again, that's taking it to an extreme, I would say. Like you say, I think you've got to lead with gameplay, but it's got to be underpinned with narrative and a decent story.
And I think
I'm all about the story.
We have seen quick-time events certainly less prominent than they used to be.
Don't know, there's a heck of a lot in like Call of Duty and stuff like that.
I think so. But old habits on certain things, really.
And I'd be interested to see what they do with Uncharted, because obviously that's a franchise that puts you in the seat of the action for a lot of it, but the number of times that you kind of, you're falling down, you have to grab a ladder by pressing X, it's like, I'm done with that. I want to see something kind of different. Yeah, exactly.
I've got an email from James Green, who says, just finished playing Just Cause 2, and never in my entire life have I played a game with such poor dialogue. Can you discuss Just Cause 2?
Wow, he's only just got around to that.
Can you discuss the best, worst dialogue and speech in video games? In my opinion, games like Assassin's Creed and Dead Space have brilliant scripting.
I mean, I was trying to think about this. So there was that video that we watched. There's, that where they count down some of the really bad ones.
Yeah. Well, obviously Resident Evil has hilariously bad. In fact, a lot of kind of stuff that's penned in Japan that gets translated.
Dynasty Warriors has some
pretty awful.
Corkers.
What's Final Fantasy like?
Final Fantasy is better than most because they spend a lot of time localizing just instead of straight translating. Having said that, there are some howlers. It's like when the older games didn't have voice acting, so they didn't have it until 10. From 10 onwards, you see it gets a bit better, but sometimes it just gets so convoluted. You're just like, shut up. Stop talking like this. Talk like a normal person.
But it's even like Gotham. which you'll probably go on to watch. Some of the dialogue in that is
I mean, I saw the pilot
awful.
and wasn't impressed with it.
God, like it just astounds me how something like a big budget TV show like that can get made with that level of script writing. It's like, God, come on, invest in that, or invest in anything. So, yeah, I guess that kind of answers his question.
All your base are belong to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's that from?
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what I always think of.
But it's fun. It's like how something's like, the whole Pwn thing, PWN.
Yeah.
That started as a typo in a World of Warcraft quest dialogue.
Right. Yeah.
And so that then became a thing. Like,
Mimi.
I still don't really understand it.
It was meant to be like you own them.
Alex, have you got...
sorry, briefly.
Yeah.
So the guy who wrote in last week, we didn't read his name out. It was Rory. Rory's fault. He's not here, so, Rory. Andy Monaghan. So thank you for writing in, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
So Ryan Dinsdale says, last week Gav mentioned that if his progress had been wiped in Little Big Planet 3, he'd have stopped playing it. Also heard that Vince in the US had lost 40 hours of progress in Dragon Age when reviewing it. How do you deal with these kinds of glitches and bugs as reviewers? Well, the fact of the matter is you don't have any choice. Is you've got to overcome all of that kind of stuff and get to the end of the game before you can review it. And it's the same to an extent with God of War. Like, you were all sat next to me when I was reviewing God of War last year, and that goddamn level that I was trying to get through, I honestly thought I was going to lose my shit over that.
And you were like desperately kind of emailing PR for like, is there any tips and stuff?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was
tough.
more. It was like, because I'm pretty good at God of War.
Yeah.
It was more a case
is this
of like,
level all right?
is this right? Is it supposed to be like
That's
this? And again, I've spoken about it. They stitched me up by putting me on a phone call with the guy who designed the level. He was basically almost crying on the phone. God.
Brilliant.
But then they patched it and changed it.
Yeah.
So, and that made me look like an idiot, because it was like the review went out and said, this level is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then everybody got it and said, what are you on about? It's
Yeah,
like,
that's not
they
fair.
patched it.
And we had the infamous saga of GTA Online when Keza was reviewing that as well.
Yeah.
When she lost character after character after character. And then it reappeared and then it vanished.
Yeah. And so it is a weird one, especially like with so many games these days. Not really as kind of games that come out as finished products day one, but as services. Is like, you look at Destiny, that's going to evolve and evolve and evolve. But as critics, you can only review what's presented to you in front of you at that time.
Yeah.
And things will change, and we'll cover that and review that as it goes on. But we're in the same boat as most people. You just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No,
Only
just
one
last
more
piece. It's literally just a shout out to a duck hunter. So this is Jamie from the Duck Hunt group on Facebook. And he just says, just a quick one. Could you give a shout out to a good duck hunter who's having a pretty tough time at the moment? So yes, happy Christmas, slightly early, and duck hunter Chris Goodwin, Zoe, and little Izzy. So we just thought we'd say that.
Shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
I hope. I don't know what the problem is, but I hope it's all good.
Yeah, I hope it all works out.
Cool. Right, let's quickly look at the games and movies out this week. So, games. The Game of Thrones movie from Telltale is out this week, which, we only saw a trailer for that kind of a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And by all accounts, it's really, really good. It kind of sits in parallel to the TV show. You've got all the kind of main cast members voicing their characters. It tells the story of the Foresters. Yeah, and apparently dialogue's really, really good. It sets it up the whole season to be pretty special. So it's a Telltale game.
Yeah.
So interactivity is pretty limited, but the thing that's good about it is that a lot of the story has significant consequence. So main characters will get killed, all this kind of stuff that you would expect from Game of Thrones. Cool. So that's out. The Crew is also out this week. I'd love to tell you what our IGN review score is, but we only got copies on Monday. The servers only went live on Monday. I played the beta and I wasn't particularly kind of blown away. I don't know. I wanted it to be good. But, we'll probably talk about that next week when we finally get the review up. And then finally, Kingdom Hearts.
Love it. I like Kingdom Hearts. So that's pretty much it. It's an action RPG that brings together...
so this is 2.5 HD remix?
Yeah, so...
Catchy?
Exactly. It brings together the second batch of 3 games in the series. It's it's a good action RPG. It brings together Disney and Final Fantasy characters.
I tried to play one of them. I can't remember which one it was. And it's just... I don't know. There's something about a big key and Mickey Mouse, and I was like, I don't know what's going on.
That's pretty much the size of it. I actually I did an interview with the developers, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we don't really know what's going on either." So
good.
Yeah, it's good. I'm going to write up a feature on it later this week. So
there you go.
Watch this space.
Films.
No, there's quite a few out this week. Nothing particularly major. You've got St. Vincent, which is a new Bill Murray movie, and as he's my favourite actor, I should be very excited, but we haven't given it a very good review. We only gave it a 5.8. I've seen a lot of good reviews floating around though, so
right.
but I haven't had the chance to check it out. It's kind of like a comedy drama. They think he might be an outside bet for an Oscar.
I think Gav's seen it, hasn't he?
He might have done.
Yeah, I thought Gav saw it and I didn't think he liked it.
No.
And he's a big Bill Murray fan.
Penguins of Madagascar, based on the animated series, which I've never heard of. We gave it a 7 out of 10.
You've never heard of Madagascar?
You know Madagascar?
No, it's Penguins of Madagascar, which is... Isn't that a spin-off of a Nickelodeon show?
It's the penguins that are in Madagascar.
Ah.
It's the kind of ninja penguins from Madagascar.
I didn't understand our review then.
That slap each other all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, I haven't seen a Madagascar movie though.
No, but they're not very good.
We gave it a 7.
Yeah.
The Grandmaster is out, which is kind of a kung fu biopic about the famous kung fu guy who taught Bruce Lee. It's done by Wong Kar-wai, who's one of the great kind of art house directors, and I saw it on a plane a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a new movie. It's only just coming out here. It's quite slow.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan, but we've given it an 8 out of 10, so if that floats your boat, Get Santa is out, which they've not let me see. It's a Christmas movie with Jim Broadbent and Rafe Spall.
So that was being screened before the screening of Paddington. I went to in the same place.
Yeah, I got invited to one screen which I couldn't make, and then they never set me up with another one. So I'm not going to review it.
No.
It looks all right. I like Rafe Spall. I like the director. The director actually normally does horror films.
Right.
Oh, cool. We've had him in the office a couple of times, Chris Smith.
There's another nativity film out this Christmas.
Yeah, that's that's out now, and it's made about 4 million.
What?
Yeah. People go see that.
It's like Panto. It's
but it doesn't mean that you should drop all kind of like standards and go and watch anything. Anyway.
Black Sea is out, which is Jude Law on a submarine searching for Nazi gold and doing a bad Scottish accent.
Speaking of Christmas movies.
Yeah, it's quite a weird time for them to release it, actually. Yeah. It's okay. Well, I've seen it. I've not reviewed it. We're giving it a 7 out of 10. His Scottish accent is not ideal.
No.
He's not Scottish.
So, if you were going to go see one film, it would be
Paddington.
Well, that was out last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, these ones, I don't know.
Right.
Whatever. Black Sea or Grandmaster, or wait till The Hobbit comes out next week.
If it's a Game of Thrones. Absolutely. Get yourself excited for next year's season.
Awesome.
Right, I think that's it for this week's
Job
podcast.
done.
We're off to go and get battered because it's the IGN Christmas party this afternoon.
Except I'm not, because I've got to interview Michael Keaton in the morning.
Yay!
That's fun though.
Yeah, it is. I'll have a couple of beers.
Best Batman ever.
So yeah, you can get in touch, IGN_UK feedback, IGN.com, or through the Twitter and Facebooks, and we will be back same time next week.
Yeah.
So, bye-bye.
Duck hunt.
Bye.